Hey guys, thank you for joining us for another exciting episode of Yomo. This is the Year of Magical Learning podcast. Today we're trying to do 240. This is a book that I think somebody recommended to you, right, Chris?
The author recommended it to me.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool. So he wrote
yeah.
the book.
Actually, it's a fun story. So I'll just go ahead and share my screen because that was actually the first part of my reflection. So the book that we're going to be talking about is called Purpose Through Pain: Finding Limitless Potential in the Presence of Adversity by the author Justin Arnold. And my reflection title is The Devil is Outside Doing Pushups, which is actually pretty apropos for today's activities that have been going on around my life. So basically, this book is about Justin's life and about a story about his childhood traumas. And he was like sexually assaulted as a kid, sexually abused as a child, and struggled to deal with the stuff, and eventually along the way found what was important to him in life, and the rest of it was channeling that traumatic, painful childhood into becoming the person he wants to become and the life that he wants to live now. That's what the book's about. This one's a little off the beaten path. It's not like some bestseller or some book that was recommended to me or anything like that. It actually was a weird story. I started this off with the compound effect is at it again, because when I first started this journey and started writing these things, we did it as a monthly challenge. We talked about it in our new ideas meeting, and we were like, yeah, let's do this. And we agreed, well, you try it first, do it for the first 30 days, see how you like it. And I was like, fine, let's do it. So I did it as my monthly challenge, got about 30 reflections into this journey. I was creating these blog posts that you see right now that we always show on the screen. One day I found this little thing that said share a post. And I was like, oh, I didn't know you could do that. So I clicked on the button and it was like, share to Twitter, share to this. And I was like, well, I don't even know that I have a Twitter account. I had never used it, so I was like, well, let's go on there. I never used Twitter ever, and I've never been like a fan of Twitter, used it or whatever, before this whole entire thing. I'm still not. But long story short, I hit the share post button, and it was like share on Twitter, share on LinkedIn, share on Facebook, and I was like, well, I feel like Twitter is the easiest one to share it on because I don't really give a shit about it. I don't have any like following or friends or I was like, whatever, I'll go share some of these on Twitter, right? So I started sharing some of these things on Twitter, and after I've written about 30 of them or whatever, I decided, hey, I'll start posting these things out there. Eventually I ended up posting it on like LinkedIn and Twitter at the same time too. That led me to using Twitter a little bit more, than I normally did. So one day I was on Twitter and I started to follow authors that I was, some of these books. And one of those authors is Adam Grant. Adam Grant is, we've had like probably 3 or 4 of his books on this journey, like Give and Take, Option B, I think Again is one other one that's coming up. I think they're originals. So, we've had like 4 books from Adam Grant on this journey, and I really like him. I think he's, like he's kind of in the business world as well. So he's kind of also a thinker in the business world. So he's somebody that I enjoy. So I was following him on Twitter, and one day Adam asked this question to everybody. What was his question I wrote down on here? So what book had the greatest impact in your thinking? Not just what you think, but how you think, was the question that he posed on Twitter. And then people were, because he's so popular on Twitter, like a lot of people were responding in his comment thread, right? A couple months into Yomo, and I was like, man, I need more book recommendations. I'm running out. I need to build my anti-library. So I was like, this would be great. I'll just, scheme on Adam's comments section and wait to see what books people post. And I saw a lot of books that were ones that I already read or things that I was interested in. I was getting a few here and there. And I came across this response from this guy. His name was Justin Arnold. And it was like, he was like, I'm not trying to be conceited or anything, but honestly, the book that I learned the most from and changed my thinking was my own book that I wrote. And here's a link to it. And I was like, I totally respect that, because I had just finished writing, I Can't Imagine. And honestly, there's no book that's ever had a greater impact on my thinking in my life than my own book that I wrote. And, subsequently Your Magical Learning, whatever else Amelia and I end up doing in the future.
I mean, to kind of say, if the book that you wrote isn't the most impactful,
you probably did something wrong. Yeah, right.
I mean,
exactly.
Why would you write a book if it has no impact on you?
I would agree with you 100%, right?
No soul in the game.
Exactly. Soul in the game for sure, right? But there's a lot of people that probably write books without their soul in the game, so I could understand why somebody would not answer that question.
So that's why I say, to me, is who wrote book should say this is the most impactful book in my life. That is not something to be conceited. To me, that's normal. If you don't do that, then you're like have a some kind of a second agenda or whatever,
you're trying to grow an audience.
So for me, it should be natural that you should say that this book is most impactful, and it should not be conceited.
1,000% agree. So that's when Justin posted that, I instinctively knew what he meant, So I was like, well, if that's what you think, then I'm, that was at the time when you and I were thinking about doing a podcast around finding people that have had atomic bomb events and things like that. And I saw the title of his book, and I was like, I feel like this guy might be a kindred spirit. I think he's probably the only person I've ever reached out to on Twitter directly ever in my life. But I replied back to him, and I think I sent him like a DM or something like that. I was like, I'd love to learn more about your book. I mean, I don't know what it was necessarily, but I'd love to learn more. And so we ended up messaging back and forth on Twitter, and he sent me a message saying, hey, I don't know if you're interested, but like, would you ever want to like come on and just have a conversation about your book, and I can have a conversation about my book on my podcast that I host? And I was like, sure, that sounds fun. Whatever. Anytime I get to talk about Amelia, I'm in, So he reached out to me, and we scheduled a time, and we ended up doing a podcast together, learn more about his life. He was a really cool guy. And he learned more about my story with Amelia. That was that. So like I said, the compound effect added again. But after that podcast, I promised him, I was like, look, I will read your book. I promise. Just because you spent some time and we've connected. I like you. You're a good guy. I was like, I'm going to read your story. Sorry, the Luca's getting me sick again. So my nose is really stuffed up. So anyway, I promised him I read this book, and here we are.
Right.
This is the origin stories of all this. I actually really enjoyed his book. Not that I'm surprised by that, but I could tell his soul was in the game. If I'm being honest, I wish his soul was a little bit more in the game, because I feel like he touched on the trauma, but he didn't go deep on the trauma. He went a lot more on how it turned into purpose, which is fine. That's his story. He could tell whatever. But for me, I wanted to feel more of the feels about the pain that happened to get to that purpose, I guess, because obviously you understand my stories. I don't know what it's like to be an abused child or, sexually assaulted. I don't know how that feels. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I can't imagine that, right? And that's the kind of the entire point of my own book. But that said, there were so many great lessons in it, and they were learned that he's grown over the years. And some of those I thought were very, very impactful, and I really enjoyed them. The one that sticks with me the most, that I always think of whenever I hear this, he said this multiple times throughout the entire book. Like, I don't know, it feels like probably 10 or 15 different times he would reference this idea of the devil's outside doing push-ups. And for whatever reason, like, it just stuck in my head. And it reminds me of, like, there's so many things in life that can pull you from your purpose, and I always get this visual of, like, you know who the New Jersey Devils mascot is?
No.
Do you know who the New Jersey Devils are?
No, never heard of him.
Yeah, it's a hockey team, but I always get because I remember them on commercials for like Sports Center and stuff like that. But like this cartoonish like devil, right? Like kind of buff looking dude, So every time I kept hearing this, all I kept thinking of was like this New Jersey Devils like cartoon guy outside just pumping iron, lifting weights, standing outside my door, and like every single day, like today. I mean, this is like the perfect example of a day like today, right? I'm trying to write one of my second to last reflections for the year of magical learning. I'm so excited about it. It's emotional. I wake up in the morning, or we went to bed last night, and Luca has pink eye. So my wife's like, well, I have shit I have to do at work, so you're going to have to take him. And I'm like, well, I have shit I have to do at work all day today, So plus I got to spend my time with Amelia, and then I have a tennis match later on tonight, and the devil's outside doing push-ups, right? He's down there, in a crib, like doing little, full body lifting and, full of snot and whatever. I'm not calling my son the devil, by the way. I'm saying like the circumstances, but just to be clear, of the things that distract us, or that can distract us from our purpose.
It's okay to be misunderstood.
Fair enough.
It's like I can say whatever I want, and if people out there understand, great. If they don't, I don't care. I don't need to explain myself, and neither should you. And you know me long enough.
I totally agree. Integrity is one of our core values, right? And so the point is like, there's so many things that can distract us. We just talked about Undistracted a couple of weeks ago with Bob Goff's book, right? There's so many things out there that can distract us from our purpose. For me, this visual was always something that's really impactful for me. It's something I remember. It's my memory palace, I guess, if you will. But like, for me, like, I'm not worried about the devil outside doing push-ups, because I know why every single day that I wake up to do this stuff. I know why I was able to accomplish everything I was able to accomplish today. I know how I was able to still be a good father to my son, take care of him when he's sick, get my job done, spend time with my daughter, write my reflection, get a workout in, go play tennis, and then do this in between somewhere where I just texted you and I was like, hey, I finally have some free time, and you were luckily available that we could be able to get this thing in, right? So like, there's so many things that are distracting, that can distract us all from our purpose, but like, if we keep our mind on right and we understand why we're doing what we're doing, it's really easy a lot of times to just keep that devil outside. He's on a different universe than I am at this point in time. So he can try whatever he wants to try, but I'm not deviating. So just wanted to say, if Justin does ever listen to this, thanks for sharing your story for sure. And it's been great meeting him, and he's a really good guy. So anyway, that's it. Love to get your thoughts.
So what's the takeaway from the reflection?
The devil's outside doing push-ups, and it's going to try to distract you from your purpose. Like, how do you not distract yourself from your purpose? For me, it's Amelia, obviously. Right. Anchor down on our values and anchor down on our living for two, and why I'm doing this in the first place, right? Yeah.
So what do you mean by the devil's outside doing push-up? What can he do push-up inside?
Well, I'm saying like let's create a visual of a house. This is in my own home right now, right?
Uh-huh.
Like I'm in my protected space. I can do what I want to do in theory. I could go perform all the activities I need to go perform. But as soon as I walk outside that door, it's chaos, right? Like there's 500 million things that are going to try to bombard me, and those are the things that I like to think of as like the devil's outside doing push-ups, ready to throw everything he can at me to get me off my path, right?
In training
He's in training. Yeah.
to try to throw you off your path or whatever. And so I guess that's what does the house symbolize? Is it symbolize
Me.
internal?
It's my safe space, and then there's
Okay.
this dude right outside of it that's ready to fuck me up as soon as I walk out that door. You know what I mean? As soon as I enter into the real world and you're like, get bombarded left and rights and jabs and whatever by all the
I
things that get
guess
thrown
the
at you.
moment you wake up, that's what you get bombarded by.
Oh yeah, yeah. The devil's the point is the devil's always outside doing push-ups, right? Like wherever you are, there's always. It's just a metaphor, I guess, to say.
We're starting to understand the metaphor. I mean, I understand about the devils, and I understand about the distraction, but the boundary of where the house is that your mental boundary, or is it
Kind of, yeah. I mean, I'm in this safe space up here. That's a good point. Like it's like my head.
right?
I'm in my safe space. I know what I'm supposed to do, and I know why I'm supposed to do it. But I mean, let's just be honest. It's like life is fucking
And
crazy,
and
right?
so outside, the devil is trying all sorts of tricks and distractions, trying to get you to open the door.
Exactly.
And so he knocks on the door, he yells, he jumps, he does you know hoops and do cartwheels or whatever, trying to get your attention.
Right.
That's the distraction. And if you can mentally fortify your dwelling, your environment, your mind, if you can fortify your environment, then whatever he does outside, it doesn't matter to you. And to me, that's a great visual. I mean, I think once you can understand and see the pieces, I think that's the best visual you can see. And the important fact is that you don't care what he does outside. You don't care whether
He can
does
get
ups, he can jumping jacks, or he can do the cartwheel or the flipping and the howling, whatever he does, right?
he could have an AR-15 and he's doing an army, crawl across a tough
Right.
mudder, competition right outside my door. I don't give a shit. Yeah.
But at the same time, for one, is you don't give a shit in terms of you don't pay attention to him regardless of what he does because you are already preoccupied with the thing that you value, right? And the second thing is the fortification of the house.
Mhm.
And so there's more than just keeping yourself busy, right? So you say, well, I can be preoccupied with something else, regardless of what, like the priority, right? I said it's priority. So the priority can represent the things that value, because once you can able to prioritize and rank what is more important to you, so the distraction outside, it doesn't measure up to what else you want to do inside, because
Right.
you understand is more important. And to me, having that mental aspect of understanding your values, it's very critical to ignoring the distractions. If you
Exactly.
don't have that, it's so hard because there's no point of reference and say, hey, this is more important because you haven't done the comparison.
Right.
So only when you can compare and say, okay, I can sit down and ask myself questions. What is it that I want? What kind of person I want to be? What makes me feel positive?
Right.
If you can ask yourself questions. It's just a simple process. It's not easy, but it's simple. You just ask yourself the question: is okay, what am I doing? Why am I doing it? This as simple as just those two questions.
So
And
if
understanding the thing that you say, well, I do this because I like this, right? And
right.
then when you say I like this, okay, so do I really like it? So if you say yes, I really like it. So whatever that happens outside, you say, well, it doesn't compare to what I have already premeditated, picked out for me as what I need to do. So that can prevent you from being say, okay, oh, there's that movie Up, the with the
Yeah.
dog. I think what's his name, Doug.
I
Squirrel,
had to scroll up.
right?
Yeah.
But the dog, his name is Doug, I think, or something like that.
Right.
But he's distracted. It's a squirrel, right?
Right.
And so that's the thing is, the devil's out there is going to,
It's a
play
squirrel.
with you. Yeah,
Right.
it's a squirrel, right?
Yeah.
You want to be distracted. And I think it goes back to the book in Distracted. That's why you have
Yeah.
to be able to anchor on something to be indistracted.
Yeah,
right?
totally. I mean, I was thinking, how do you beat Mike Tyson in a boxing match?
How did you beat Mike Tyson in a boxing match?
Yeah. You don't go into the ring. That's how you walk away from a fight with Mike Tyson. You just keep on walking. Now, let's say you accidentally find yourself in the ring with Mike Tyson on accident, and you're like, oh shit, Mike Tyson's there right in front of me and he's ready to fight. What do you do then?
Get out of the ring.
Get the fuck out of the ring. Like you don't sit there and go, all right, fine, I'm in here. Let me, you know what? Let me figure
Let's
out. Let me go
dance, old
train.
man.
Let's dance. And after you get the shit kicked out of you, you're still in the ring. And you're like, well, maybe if I just sit here and train for years and years and years of my life, maybe I can get, I'll get by this guy. This is where I'm going to plant my flag. And you're like, everybody else is just like walking by the ring, and they're like, what an idiot. Like, what? Why the hell did he walk into the ring with that guy? Like, don't engage. You know what I mean? They're going to make you try to engage. You beat Mike Tyson by just walking the fuck away, right? I mean, there's zero chance in the world that I'm ever going to beat Mike Tyson up in a boxing match, right? But I can guarantee you, he's not going to be able to beat Chris Sears and being Chris Sears either. But he can if I let him. Like, if I walk in the ring and I'm like,
I mean, you're gonna have to decide, okay, do I want to fight Mike Tyson or I don't?
mm-hmm.
And the thing is, if you say, well, if he wants to fight you and you refuse to fight, there's no fight.
There's no fight,
right?
Yeah,
So
right.
He doesn't get what he wants, so he loses.
Exactly.
The devil loses. He does all the push-ups outside, and you don't give an iota of attention to him. He loses. He gets frustrated. He is like really, really angry at you. He's like, why don't you look at me? Look at all the things I'm doing.
Exactly.
So I think having that fortitude makes you almost invincible, because the thing is, no one can touch you because you refuse to engage. If you refuse to engage, how can you have any kind of a meaningful disagreement or argument or whatever it is you want? No confrontations if you don't stay and confront and be confronted.
Yeah. Perfect example is this employee of mine that we've touched on a few different times throughout our conversation since these whole teams merged, right? And out of respect, I'm still not going to say any names or anything, but let's just call this employee that's a troublemaker. That's a perfect example of the devil's outside doing push-ups. I have a purpose. I was trying to do this stuff. This person was distracting me from that purpose. It distracted me a lot for quite a while, where I was like,
what the hell is she doing?
Yeah. Right.
The window was it?
I was having fucking nightmares about it sometimes, where I'm like, God, like, what am I missing here? Like, how do other people not see this? And eventually I just said, fuck it. I don't care. I have not spoken to this person. I don't ever think about her, obviously, unless right now in this conversation, I'm giving this as an analogy, but I don't think about her, spend any time with her. I've literally ostracized from the entire team, let her do whatever she wants on an island. The only time I ever communicate with her is if I absolutely have to get something from her that we have to communicate on because somebody else asked me to do that with her. And that's the only time that I ever communicate with this person, right? So the funny thing is, long story short, the people that I asked originally to point this stuff out, like she needs to go, they're starting to see this now, and they're starting to see it in the areas that they're like, oh my God, she doesn't have any integrity. Oh my God, she doesn't do this. Oh my God, she doesn't do that. Oh my God, she's lying about all this other stuff. Oh my God, as we dig into what she's actually doing, we're finding out that this stuff is all a bunch of fake bullshit that she's claiming she's doing. But it's funny because it's come full circle to me, because I haven't given one thought about it since a month ago, whatever it was, when this whole thing happened. And now it's coming back full circle to other people now saying, well, they haven't said, well, you're right, but they're now going, well, like we talked about the other day, what's the right time to fire somebody? It's the first time to think about firing them. I think there's other people now that are like, should we fire her? And I'm like, great, I'll just let it keep playing its course. Like, it doesn't matter to me. I'm still doing what I'm doing over here. But like, that's a perfect example of, she's not the devil. Like, this is a metaphor, obviously, right? But like the devil outside doing push-ups in terms of, like, I could have easily gone off the rails, that down the road of like going to fight every single person around me, going, this is not the right, like screaming in people's faces. And I said, whatever, it'll work itself out. I don't care. I'm disengaging from that. I'm going to go focus on everybody
and
else.
You're going to be so miserable. Like I said, you haven't had nightmares in the beginning.
Right. Yeah. I was like, what am I fucking missing here? What am I not seeing that other people are, or what am I seeing that other people are not seeing that is not so blatantly obvious? It was almost like I was being gaslit or something like that by a few people, questioning my own universe. I'm like, this is actually happening in front of me, right?
So go back to what I said. It is okay to be misunderstood, because the thing is, people say, "Hey," because if they go to say, "Hey, Chris, you're a mean person. Why would you want to sabotage this person's career? You're trying to fire." It's like, you have some kind of hidden agenda. You have some superior conflicts or blah blah blah, right? And to me, like, I've got to the point where I say, It's okay to be misunderstood because I'm not here to please you. I'm not here to make you understand anything. If you misunderstand me, it's on you. It's not me. I am not gonna lose a single second of sleep just because you misunderstood me. It is
Sure.
you.
Yeah. Right.
It is you who, because the thing is, I am not here to, make you understand the world from my perspective or understand perfectly what I am, you know, truthfully or whatever. It doesn't matter. And the thing is, people have their own world and everybody is misunderstood. And
Right.
if you are constantly concerned about being right in everybody's eyes, right? You can't. You're making yourself miserable into the point where you basically get nothing, no more time left to do anything else. So
Right.
you don't live your value based on who you are. You live based on the value of somebody else's eyes and say, well, that person thinks I'm this kind of person. They say, hey, True, you know, True's a jerk. He's a dumbass jerk, idiot, whatever. I don't really care.
Right.
But if I would say, well, I'm not actually a jerk, I'm a pretty nice guy, I got to go there and convince you, hey, Chris, I'm really not a jerk. I'm pretty nice. I think for people, I'm kind of people. I give to charity, blah, 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 right? I can say that to you, and I can convince everybody who look at me funny with like one eye, okay, what the hell is this guy trying to do, the blah, blah, right? Do I go and trying to set everything right? So for me, sometimes if people call me a wrong name, I don't care. It's like,
Right.
I'm not gonna correct you. You can call me like Foss, and people do, and I say, okay, fine. It's
Well, you're not
not
going to change.
it.
No matter
It
what.
doesn't. It
You're
doesn't
not going
matter. I'm not gonna say,
to. Right.
well, my name is True. I don't care. You didn't love my name right. It's not on me. It's on you.
Right.
Right. And so to me, I'm not there to correct you. I should not have to correct you. If you want me to correct you, ask me and I'll do it. But I'm not gonna correct you. If you can say anything wrong, you say, hey, you have blonde hair. Okay. I don't care.
Sure.
Even as plain as that, I don't care. And
Right.
that to me is the whole point. The point is you are too occupied with something more important to you. And
Right.
when you have that, the rest of whatever the world does to you or whatever the world thinks of you, it doesn't matter from that particular perspective. The scale, right? Your scale is huge, but if compare that to the Grand Canyon, for example, it's teeny,
Right. Yeah. I
right?
mean,
And
like,
so it's perspectives. So
it-
if you have your core values inside your house and you're doing what you need to do, you don't even have time to pay attention to what the devil's doing outside.
I totally agree. You know how many pages there are in Your Magical Learning?
Was it like 400 something?
I'm at 452 right now, and I got one
452.
more reflection to write, so it'll probably end up being 453, 454, something like that, right? That's 297,573 words, right? Over since September of 2021 is when we started this thing, and it is
Right.
now April of 2023. So like 16 months ish, something like that, right? So you're like, how did you like? And I'm not saying this in a stupid way, but it's like, how do you write that much and have a full-time job, have all this other stuff going on, do this stuff with you, do whatever? And I'm like, I honestly can tell you, like, read 200 books in that time or whatever, 150 books or whatever it was, in addition to what was already done. Like, somebody would say, like, how do you do that? And I honestly, it's not hard at all, really. If anything, it's hard to.
It's not hard for you. It's not hard for me. And the reason for that is not because it's like if you say, hey, go practice boxing and try to beat Mike Tyson, that's impossible for me.
Right. Yeah.
But and you ask me to read 200 books, read 1,000 books, I can do it.
Well, no, but that's
No,
most people would say
without
it's
the constraint of the
impossible too.
time. Let's say you do 1,000 books in 5 years or 10 years or 20 years. I can still do it. The reason for that is it's called the auto running downhill. Because that's what you like to do anyway.
Yeah,
right?
course.
Because the thing is, that's what I'm saying is when you say how is it possible, you say, well, just do what you care about, and the rest is easy.
Well, it's a prioritization effort, right? Like, this is when you have a purpose and you prioritize your purpose. Like, there is no prioritization.
There's no prioritization
that
because
comes first, then everything.
I mean,
else
the thing is, you think about like you love tennis, right? You're going to schedule the time to play tennis regardless of what happens. Like it doesn't matter. It's called
like
preference.
exactly. Like when I travel, I need to make sure I carve out an extra 35 minutes or so to go get a run in. I got to make sure I take my shoes, take enough workout clothes, make sure that I wake up. And, if I have meetings at 8 o'clock in the morning that morning, I got to make sure I wake up at like 5. And then I need to have time to be able to write and still get ready for the day. It's just, my whole thing is like, I go, oh, I got to do this tomorrow because this is what matters to me. Everything else gets prioritized around that. Like this morning, Luca went to bed. We thought he may have pink eye. He woke up and sure enough, he has pink eye.
Right.
And we thought he maybe end up staying home today. So I was like, well, shit, better set my alarm clock a little bit earlier this morning. I better get my workout in a little bit earlier.
Because prioritization is just another word for, hey, I like this better. I mean, I'd rather go eat the cake than eat the frog. So,
right.
So, well, if you say, oh, I have to eat the cake and the frog, well, I'm going to eat the cake first. and then I'm going to fill my stomach and whatever's left and may eat the frog if somebody forces me. but like I said, I ain't going to eat the frog first.
I'm definitely not eating the frog first. Yeah,
to me, it's dumb to eat the frog first. And a lot of gurus out there will tell you to eat the frog first.
First thing in the morning.
Do the hardest thing first.
Right.
It's like, no, just do the easiest thing. Do the thing you want to do to get you some
energy.
Yeah. Right?
Right, exactly.
Like, I mean, when you do something, say, hey, this is reward. It's like, hey, when I do something, hey, give me something to balance out the effort I have to put in to do new stuff. So that's the thing. You want that first and you want to taste it. Say, yeah, I think this is valuable to me. So I'm willing to trade some of these valuable for some of the things that I want to do. If you say, hey, I'm going to do the hardest thing, where do you get the willpower to do that? Willpower depletes. And in order to replenish willpower, is you have to do something that you like. If you don't like it, it's going to require willpower. And so it's either depletion of willpower or replenishing willpower. There's no like, hey, something doesn't cost anything.
You know what you should do is make sure you feed that devil, get that devil fat, like feed him the cake, like you're giving him lean meat, out there, like when you got to work on your willpower. But if you eat the cake first, like, and you're like, hey, let's go get fat together, and the devil, all of his push-ups and exercising and everything out there to stay ready for you to come out and pounce, like, he'll be sluggish and slow and
you think about what we talked about yesterday. We talked about yesterday as the architecture, right? We built to remember, and we established that our inside is a mirror of our outside, right? So that means that if your inside is completely good and nice and innocent, it reflects on the outside. If you eat the frog, what do you think you're going to when you interact with people, what do you think you do to them?
Well,
my inside is fucked. So look, you need to wait your turn. I ain't give you a single kindness because I've done my part. I paid my dues. I ate my frog. So this is what you do. You reflect. So anyone who eats the frog, is basically you come across this devil and say, well, this person. The thing is, human being, we have the capacity to be any kind of character we want. You can be a good person, a bad person, and in most cases, we have the capacity to be all of that. And at some point, I was completely a bad person, or an evil person, or whatever. And sometimes I'm good. It's because it's how I feel. But if you go and say, I'm going to stop all of this chaos and all these frogs and all things I don't like, well, you're going to reflect back to people. And when you interact with people, how do you have any kind of heart, any kind of kindness to the other person you're interacting with?
You don't.
So you want to eat the cake. You want to eat the cake so that when it's okay, I'm going to get you some.
Right.
Pass on.
Let's enjoy this together.
You pay it forward.
Right.
You cannot pay it forward. You don't have anything. Pay it forward. It has two sides of the coin. A good side and a bad side. You want to pay it forward, right? If you eat the frog, you will pay forward the bad, right? And it's a ripple effect, right? Because if you say, I pay my dues, why this guy get a free lunch? Why this guy get a free ride? So you going out there and you say, well, I ain't going to give you a single inch. And you're going to be confronting Mike Tyson, and then you get knocked out in 2 seconds. And in the 3rd second, you say, I fucked up.
Right. Willpower is the devil's trainer. They're in cahoots together. The resources deplete. The devil's like, yeah, I'm there. I'm ready to pounce. As you're like, fine. Clearly, I can't get around this ring. I just got to step into it.
Anyone who has any right mind would never, ever going to stand up and fight Mike Tyson. But when you eat a frog, you will, because you think you deserve it, because you think you have no more leadway to give. There's no more bend to give. And so for me, it's like normally, like, I mean, can I fight? Yeah, I can fight. I mean, I've been in fight a lot. I mean, I can fight. It's just that I don't want to fight. Doesn't mean I won't fight and I can't fight. It's just I don't want to fight. So anyone who had a confrontation with me, you haven't argued with me, it's okay. I just say okay, and I just go away. It's a preference. It's not because I can't argue with somebody or I can't fight somebody. I just decide not to because I eat the cake. Why would I fight you?
Right. Like, would Bruce Lee ever fight Mike Tyson?
He wouldn't if he don't have a reason to. He won't.
He would never. Yeah, he would never, unless it happened to align to some weird ass.
If it's something is not important to him, he won't. He won't fight.
Do I think Bruce Lee might have a chance to beat Mike Tyson? Maybe. But like, would he ever
Yeah,
fight
I
him?
mean, I think it's a toss up between those two because anything can happen. Because Mike Tyson has a powerful punch, but if you can't land a punch on Bruce Lee, then there's nothing you can do.
Right, but I don't think that Bruce Lee would ever.
Because you know how Bruce Lee beat a Taekwondo master? Just lift him off the ground. He lifts him off the ground. Because the Taekwondo master, his strength comes from the stance. Without the stance, it can't do anything.
Interesting.
And so, for example, Mike Tyson, what is his strength? His powerful punch.
Yeah.
You get one punch, you get knocked out. From anyone who is in a professional boxer, you get punched by Mike Tyson, you get knocked out. And the thing is, that's what I'm saying is, you look at the strength of that person. You separate his strength, him from his strength. Therefore, he's no longer of any threat, right? So that's why when you fight Mike Tyson, don't let him punch you. You fight the Taekwondo expert. You don't let him stand his ground. You lift him up,
right?
Or you put him on the ground.
Hey,
you lift him up or you put him on the ground. He cannot fight.
You certainly don't walk into their environment where they're beavering on purpose, like
that's, right. You don't go in there and you dance like the Taekwondo because that's his dance.
Right, exactly.
Right? And so that's what I'm saying is, you have the ability to choose when you eat the cake. But when you don't eat the cake, you eat something like a frog. That means you say, hey, I have paid my dues for whatever you feel entitled. You say, hey, I have no more no more room to flex, to give. Meaning that, hey, I'm not gonna take any more. You basically like it's a tipping point, right? A single grain of rice would tip, right? Just because you're at that maximum, anything would tip. Even a person look at you weird, you start tipping. You don't need for them to kind of push you, right? If you are at your peace of mind, right? Somebody pushes you, you just move back. But if you are at maximum, meaning you eat the cake and you took all this nonsense, somebody even look at you, even touches you, you have no more room to give, that you won't come back and you push forward. And then that's when confrontation happens. And then you get into their environment, whatever that environment is, because they provoke you. So a person can be provoked is because you eat the frog too many damn times. So my recommendation to you is stop eating the frog.
Sorry. All right, sorry, go ahead.
So one of the saying that I think it's meaningful is that how the forces of nature, right? There's forces of nature and there's forcing nature. Right? You do not want to force nature. So that's what I'm saying is you gotta run downhill.
Run downhill,
Don't ever run uphill. And that's the thing is you eating the frog is you're forcing nature. If you're not the pelican or whatever to eat the frogs, don't eat the damn frog.
I agree, man.
You cannot mind your own business and be indistracted from the devil doing push-up outside if you going to force nature. The force of nature and forcing nature, is two things that you need to understand. It is the force of nature is so powerful, right?
Agreed.
I'm talking about a flood, a drain, a hurricane, right? The force of nature, it is so powerful. Earthquake, whatever you want to think about, it is so huge. So I can give you an image of what I mean by the forces of nature. The forces of nature, and when we think about it, it's something is of like grand magnitude. So with that saying, the forces of nature, you understand what it is, and say don't force nature. So whatever your nature is, don't force it.
Right.
Because you can't. It is so powerful. So don't even try. It's futile.
I was writing, so I have a tennis match in like an hour. We got to end this in like 5 minutes because I got to go get changed and get out of here. But I have this like little book that I do called 366 Days of Tennis. So on days when I have a match, I'll use my morning reflection time to write. read a little thought and then write my thoughts about it. And to your point of like not forcing nature, I feel like this is perfect to share the reflection from today. It's amazing what one move can do. When you're playing tennis sometimes and people get into patterns, let's say you're playing a doubles match and you always stand at the net, maybe just a little off center, about midway in between the service line and the net, standard position. And the opponent's serving and they keep lobbing you or they keep doing whatever. They get into a groove in the middle of the match. Like I always do this to people where I'll just take one step, you know what I mean? And then I'm starting in a different spot and then they have to go, well, Chris just moved like just a little bit, and then they have to think. Like, and this is the whole point of what we talk about all the time about the elephants, right? You don't want to think. That's the whole point. If you can make somebody else think and you cannot think, like you're winning, right?
Exactly. You're getting provoked.
One tiny little move. I mean, it's amazing what ends up happening, where if somebody's always hitting to you at the baseline or something like that, right? And they're standing right on the baseline and you're like, okay, fine. Well, I'll just hit a little bit more loopy balls or something like that. And then all of a sudden they make a mistake. And then,
you're gonna fall on that new move that you do because if Chris is moved, I mean, to me, it's like if Chris moves, I'm still hitting the same way. He's gonna have to adapt to me. I'm not adapting to him, right? But the thing is, if you say I have been practicing the serve at this location to that spot, right?
Yeah.
And even if you move, there or not. I don't give a shit if you move. Right. Because I've been practicing for this, the 1,000th time. I can hit that like 100 out of 100.
I didn't even notice.
I'm gonna hit it. So that's my strongest strength. My strongest strength. I should be doing that. And then if I see you move, and if I continue to adjust to your move, basically the first time I make that move is the first time I made that serve. That serve more likely than not will fall.
100%. I mean, it happens all the time. I randomly force people to double fault.
They were doing push-up outside.
Exactly. I mean, if you make somebody think and you throw them off their game, like unless they have like a really anchored, like I mean, don't get me wrong, like the same things throw me off too. When somebody starts to do something different, I have to sit down and think. Like, oh, okay, this isn't working what I was doing before. Now I have to think how to counteract that, right? And that's just strategy. That's just the fun of the game.
But
in real life, like this morning,
the adjustment
I had to counteract.
It's a reserve for like the game review. After the game, watch a video, just like we're playing football. Just don't change your game plan in the middle of the game. Just continue to do that. If you lose, you lose. You lose, I mean your plan didn't work out. But the thing is, you're changing your play mid game. Isn't going to give you any better chance.
I know.
It doesn't help you beat anyone.
If you think that you're going to magically in the middle of a match just like switch strategies to something you've done for a really long time, away from something you've done for a really long time to something that's totally foreign to you, and you think that that's going to somehow turn into an outcome that's going to be a positive outcome for you, like you're fucking dreaming. I mean, I've tried that so many times in my tennis playing career where I'm like, all right, like they're taking this away from me. Like I need to hit it short and to the left, a ton of spin and blah, blah, blah. And like right in this area. And I'm like, well, Chris's elephant doesn't do that. I have not trained my elephant to hit that shot. So so then I'm trying to like think through every little ball that I'm trying to hit. And then I'm making errors all over the place. And they're going, well, it worked. Like, Chris decided to pivot and stop doing Chris stuff, and then eventually we've gone through this many, many times where I even remember that one where I walked you through like the battle of my mind, then it's like the little rider hops in there, like, yelling at the elephant, like, get your fucking shit together, and then I have to like mediate everybody.
It's my leg. I'm moving my leg. Why are you telling me how to move my leg? Backseat driver, stop doing it.
But it's always one little tiny move that can throw off everything, right? And if you don't know how to get back to what you know how to do and to do it well and just stay focused on what you do, then you're going to get fucked. The devil's outside doing push-ups. He's going to throw a new wrench into every single plan every single day. That was not a smooth day today, but shit got done. And I couldn't be more proud sometimes on days like this. Amelia and I still did what we were supposed to do. Is it the best reflection I've ever written? No, probably wasn't, honestly. And I'm, part of me was a little sad about that because I was like, this is my second last reflection. I'm like, I really wanted to make it really, really, really good. I thought it was like really, really good, but it wasn't like really, 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 really good.
It's all subjective. I mean, you think it's really good right now, but whenever you come back to it later, it wasn't as good as you thought it would be because it sounds good in your head, right? And sometimes something you think it turned out to be the perfect reflection for the day or the lesson that it's the most impactful lesson that you can carry on with your life. And so the thing is, don't worry about being perfect and say, what do I think? What do I think today? What do I think about this? But what I can learn from? That's all you want to do. And to me, this is what I will put back on you. You say the devil is doing push-up outside. Forget him. Your reflection. He can do whatever he wants, right? your reflection has to know. To me, shouldn't have
Hit your shot. Hit your forehand.
any. Yeah, it shouldn't have any impact on what it is that you do or how you reflect. Even if you think your reflection isn't good, it could be good.
It could be good. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it wasn't good. I'm just saying you get my point, though. I mean, I know what you're saying, and I appreciate that. But like, it goes back to hit your forehand. Like just keep hitting it. Like
Just hit your forehand. Just
do what you
present
like.
your best trait, your strongest move. Just do your strongest move. If you're good at doing the forehand, do the forehand. Don't try to say, okay, I'm going to do the backhand. I'm going to make something new. If you really understand the lab, you understand this process 1,000 times that you do this, right? One time that you make successful by accident, that is the one that you remember. That's the one that people record. That's the one that say, hey, this team, they make game strategy change and they beat. Everybody should follow them, blah, blah, right? But the 999 other one has failed, but no one mentioned it. So that is the fallacy. So like I said, if you understand the lab, this is one of the most important and impactful lessons that I've learned. That I say, well, don't do that. To me, so what I come up with as far as the truism for that is, live in the world of probable, not possible.
Yeah.
Because if you do your forehand, you're probably going to win. If you do your backhand because it's new, you have the possibility of winning, but it's very slim. Like winning the lottery. Is it possible to win the lottery?
Of course.
Yes, it is possible. But am I going to win it? Probably not. But is it possible for me to go, let's say I'm going to do my gardening or do playing tennis like you. Is it possible for you to play tennis? It's probable, but is it possible? So don't live in the world of possibility. Live in the world of probable. So this is, to me, is one of the lessons I told my nephew as well. And he actually took that lesson to heart, and he actually...
Say it again so I can get it down. Live
in the world of probable, not possible. Right? Because everybody is chasing the possibility.
Yeah, I like it.
Do not because I told you that before. Like if I were to say, okay, what am I good at? Well, I could probably have good leg strength, right? I should be focusing on becoming a fucking kicker than becoming like a quarterback or a cornerback, right? To me, I wasn't fitted for those things. I would have been an NFL player if I were to practice on my kicking the fucking ball, just doing just a thing that I am good at. So probable, there's more probable that I become a kicker. It is possible that I become a cornerback in the NFL, but it's like we're doing a fucking lottery. You see, because people only like the underdog, right? The underdog story. Everybody loves underdog story. You only celebrate the underdog, but the underdog is 1 in a million.
Are they really the underdog though?
If you think you're gonna marry a prince, right? You are dreaming beyond dreaming. You are dreaming within inside a dream.
Right. Hang on. Pause. I'm not going to open up this can of worms. I regretted it because I was like, damn it. We'll end up talking about this for like 25 more minutes. But actually,
have
to get out of here and go get changed. But
sounds good.
Yeah, that was fun. Hey, this is our old time. It's been a long time since we've done it. It's been like a year since.
I don't remember the last time we've done it at that old time.
Yeah, so felt like old times. All right. Well, thanks for joining as always. The question we can leave with everybody is, what strategies do you deploy to keep distractions from throwing you off your purpose? Something to think about. We appreciate you joining, and we'll see you all tomorrow night.
See ya.